red lights are about to go on, which they do. And away they go then for this 15-minute race.
Cars in the pit
a couple of cars into the pit wall, I'm afraid, towards the back of the field. We'll pick up on that in just a minute, but it's Ben Short that leads them away down towards Rich's corner for the first time from number 4, George King. In second place, it's the 191 car of Philip Barrett that came off worst in all of that into the pit wall, but I think he'll just have to pull off into the pit lane exit there as the leader, Ben Short, heads George King and the rest as they head into the Wilson hairpin for the first time.
Yeah, the other car involved was Martin Vernon, who didn't qualify so well this morning. There's 29, that's Mary Barnard, just ahead of 23, which is Martina Ward. Good to have a good number of women racing in the 5 Club Racing Mazda MX-5 Cup, and a couple of them there battling into the left-hander at Palmer. I think they're just behind Amy Worthington, Nee Barker, in that battle as well. But meanwhile, the leaders are up towards the hairpin, and Short and King then up front. But neither, they're battling for the championship. The two main championship rivals really only start on the third row, Jordan Johnson and Ben Short. Jordan Johnson, who's had a couple of wins, Ben Hansey, I should say, not Short. Ben Hansey has had 3 victories. He missed Mallory Park and then had a retirement last time out at Brands. There's the damage, by the way, on the Barrett car that pulled in at the end of the pit lane. So for Ben Hansey, he has no more leeway on the drop scores. He's had 3 DNFs. You get 3 drop scores, so he can't afford another bad result, because quickly in this championship, Ian, that will drop you out of contention. It
will, and Jordan Johnson has had a decent score in all of the races that we've had so far. 10 races we've had so far, including a win at Anglesey and at Croft as well in the opening meeting of the season. So it's sure that is Scott Leach going particularly wide there on the exit of Nelson.
And behind him, Hansey was way up on 2 wheels because his rival, Jordan Johnson, getting away. He's there in 4th, then Leach, and then Hansey's lost out where he leaped over the curbs. I think that's Tom Holland who didn't have a good start. He's just beside him, Tom Holland, who is also racing the British GT Championship this year. And he really enjoyed himself at Brands Hatch. He was on the podium. He was delighted to be on the podium in Mazda MX-5s after so many years of trying.
I think Scott Leach might have used his track limit breaches upon the first lap by the looks of things there. Over the line goes Ben Short in the lead of this race, then about half a second clear in the number 1 car of number 4, George King, in second. 17, Oak Richardson is third. 92, Jordan Johnson is fourth. 13, Scott Leach is fifth. Tom Holland, 230 is sixth. And Ben Hansey, as you say, struggling a little bit at the moment in 7th place overall, number 40.
And the leader's not getting away. Oak Richardson, who was a couple of seconds slower in qualifying, he's going with them. Oak Richardson, who's also been a winner this season, which came in the opening race of the year at Croft Circuit. There's King, who got the couple of seconds at Brands, and Richardson up next. Then Jordan Johnson just starting to fall away. Then Scott Leach, then Holland. Then it is in 7th position for Ben Hansey. So the last couple of meetings not really going to plan for the former champion, Ben Hansey. Twice a champion in this category. But Ben Short, he is the leader and the reigning champion in the 5 Club Championship, and Hansey's gone through. He's got ahead of Tom Holland, and following him is Ian Tomlinson. So for Tom Holland, he's lost a couple of spots there as they turn their way through the left-hander at Hamilton.
They do indeed. So we're working lap 2 of this 15-minute race. There's Tomlinson, very experienced in MX-5. He's going to lose a position back again, though, to Holland, I think, because he's a bit wide into Oggies, and sure enough, Holland goes back through. Just behind them is 21, which is Matthew Neal. And just behind that is Lloyd Huckins, I think, in the 14 car, the 26-year-old aircraft technician from Hemel Hempstead.
Tom Holland in that battle was racing on the Algarve at Portimao last weekend in a V8 Ginetta. Just similar, isn't it? Yeah. Being here at Snetterton, the Mazda MX-5.
The climate is almost identical, yes. As we watch them come through the Nelson and now down towards the bomb hole. So you've got Holland there just ahead of Tomlinson, and they're both, well, they're all going a little bit too wide there, really. A loss of them are anyway at that particular part of the circuit. And
Ben Hansey had 4 laps deleted in qualifying this morning for track limits. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more drivers also had track limit lap deletions. So people have got to be a little bit careful here. You would have thought the qualifying problems would have sort of brought the problem to the drivers, but it doesn't seem to be stopping them at this stage. We'll see what happens as the race goes on.
through Riches they go. The fight for 7th, 8th and 9th as things stand. The car's going through a bit further up the order, including the blue and black car vote. Richards and Scott Leach is going to lose out to Ben Hansey there. That's for 5th place. That could be important because that means that Ben Hansey is now only 1 place behind Jordan Johnson on the road, albeit there's quite a gap between them of about 3 seconds or so that he will need to try to make up.
Huge slide for Hansey. That's not helped his momentum out of Palmer. It was exciting to watch. So he was trying out the British Drift Championship as well in a slightly different way to what we saw in the previous race. He's held on to the position, I think, just about when Mary Barnard's had a spin and damage to her car. The rear of Mary's car there, very second hand. That was at the Wilson hairpin, I think.
So there's Hansey. He has held on to that 5th position, but really now needs to get his head down, try and catch Jordan Johnson, who's got some support I can see on the live stream, which is good to see the comments coming in as the leaders are turning their way onto the Bentley straight once again. Ben Short leading by 1.2 seconds at the end of 2 laps from George King in 2nd and Oak Richardson in 3rd position. There you can see those cars go through, and then Jordan Johnson as well. And that's a visualisation of the gap back to Hansey. At the start of the lap it was just over 3 seconds. It looks like it's a bit more than that now.
Good battle behind, isn't it, between Tomlinson, Neal and Huggins. So they work their way through. Ian Tomlinson there in 8th position. He's had a few podiums this year, but currently he's there in what is, I think, 8th position, just ahead of Matthew Pennyfather Neal, who's also been on the podium, which came at Mallory Park. And the 3rd car in that little scrap is Lloyd Huggins, who his best result's been a 5th this season. And there's more damaged Mazdas. This is very unusual for the 5 Club Championship because usually there's really a good clean racing where everybody makes the checkered flag, but now it's Jack Lawrence who is a new name for the championship. I think he's got damage. Now he was battling with Mary Barnard, so you may be able to put 2 together there and come up with something that may cause those 2 cars to have damage, unfortunately.
Yeah. Don't really think you need to be Miss Marple to work that one out, as one well-known commentator always used to say, as they turn their way through the right-hander at the Wilson hairpin. It is the 21 car of Neal and the 14 car of Huggins that are doing battle for 9th position, for those of you watching on the live stream at the moment. And they're heading down to Palmer. Ben Short's lead, by the way, now 2.94 seconds over the rest. And on the gap, by the way, from Johnson to Hansey, which is also worth keeping on, was nearly 5 seconds at the end of lap 3 as well, because those are, as Josh has been saying, 2 championship contenders. So now I've got Holland and Tomlinson side by side again. It was Holland ahead at the start of the lap. Tomlinson's going to have the inside line though for Hamilton and seals the move there. He goes up to 7th.
So he started 9th. He's gained a couple of positions recently in Tomlinson. Tighter line for Holland, and this is going to propel him alongside, is it? No, not quite. Ian Tomlinson hangs on then ahead of Tom Holland in the BS Motorsport car. And there's another BS Motorsport car on the grass. That's Matthew Short, who's had a spin out of Hamilton, the retired GP from Wiltshire. One of the more experienced drivers on the grid has had a spin.
He certainly has, but getting back into the race, which is good to see. Hansey and now Scott Leach getting away from this group, which has got Tom Holland now back ahead of Ian Tomlinson. Some dust kicked up ahead of them, but I think no real harm done. Lloyd Huggins now right with Ian Tomlinson as well in 10th place, and 11th is the 21 car. Oh, sorry, 10th is the 21 car of Matthew Neal, who's dropped to the back of that group, hasn't he? So this is 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. This group.
Yeah, there's been quite a lot of positional changes over the course of the previous lap in that battle. Ben Short, by the way, has completed 4 laps and is just going away. He's 3.3 seconds ahead of George King. Oak Richardson third and Jordan Johnson fourth. Interestingly, over the last few meetings, Oak Richardson sort of been behind Johnson and Hansey, but here at Snetterton he is ahead. And I think he may have been racing here last weekend in a different championship, so that may have helped. A bit of track time to prepare him for this weekend. And that's really helped because he is kind of in the championship hunt, I think, isn't he? After some decent results this year.
Yeah, after drop scores have been taken into account, you've got Hansey on 687, Johnson 686, Oak Richardson 669, Ian Tomlinson 657. But such is the nature of the scoring system in the 5 Club Racing MX-5 Cup is that it always looks very close on paper right until the end of the season.
So there's Huggins. He's passed Tomlinson as well now. So Ian Tomlinson, who had got up to 7th, has now dropped back to his grid position 9th over the last 3 miles of racing. Just behind is Neil, and behind we've got our first track limit penalty. That's going the way of Adrian Johnson, who's 11th. After saying Oak Richardson was ahead of Jordan Johnson, well, he still is, but he's been caught. So Jordan Johnson, the driver with the most points so far this season, even if on drop scores he's not leading the way, although he may do after this race, he is chasing Oak Richardson. So Johnson, the 31-year-old HGV mechanic, right in the tow of Oak Richardson, the 28-year-old nursery manager from Buckinghamshire. But is he going to hang on to 3rd? He's just giving Jordan Johnson enough room on the outside, just gave him a Mazda MX-5 car width to work with, but Richardson on the inside into the left-handed element of the S's at Brundle is able to hang on, but then he runs a little bit wide, which compromises his exit quite significantly, and that is giving Johnson the chance perhaps to challenge into the final couple of corners of the lap.
Yeah, so where are we time-wise? We're coming up to 12 minutes gone, so we're going to have 2 more laps, I think, at the end of this one to make it a 7-lap races. The majority of them have been so far today, these 15-minute races. Richardson a bit sideways there, again out over the white line on the exit of the corner. Got to be careful with that. It's still the top 2 really having very quiet races, Ben Short and George King, but it's side by side now for 3rd position. Another 5-second penalty board, or possibly the same one being shown, but for 3rd place, who's it going to be turning into Rich's corner? Cool. It's Johnson who's going to try and get through on the inside there. Rich is in the end, and I think he might have done it. Let's see how this pans out as they head up towards the Wilson hairpin. Yeah, it looks like Johnson has got through to 3rd place, and very locked up and out of shape is Oak Richardson.
So he's done it then. So Jordan Johnson from 5th on the grid is up into 3rd and ahead of Richardson. So Jordan Johnson, who only started racing 5 years ago, finished 3rd in the championship in 2019. He only won 1 race before this season, but he's had a couple of wins so far in 2023. Okay, today's not going to be a win, but he's getting a good result out of it. Side by side behind, this is for 14th position, I think. Jake Micklewright was involved in that. The 26-year-old from Somerset. He was side by side, I think, with Samuel Gormer, the 32-year-old from Suffolk. So at his local circuit here, driver from Ipswich. We are probably on the penultimate lap, Ian, and now that Jordan Johnson's ahead of Oak Richardson, he's putting a bit of daylight between himself and the chasing car.
He certainly is, and quite a long gap back, isn't there, behind Richardson to the next group. Here we are looking now at, or we were briefly looking at Holland and Huggins and Tomlinson, the 3 red cars, disputing 7th, 8th and 9th positions. And they are just behind Hansey and Leach, of course, who are in 5th and 6th, who are just about in the back of shot there. As towards us come Jordan Johnson, number 92, up to Brundle, and number 17, Oak Richardson, who of course have swapped places on this lap. Through Nelson they go again. Certainly the track limits are being explored here to quite a considerable extent by some drivers. As we watch them come through Coram now, the race leaders are already up towards the end of the lap, of course. Ben Short will get the last lap board this time, I think, with just 30 seconds remaining on the clock. So Ben Short it will be that goes on to his final lap of the race with this very convincing lead he has over George King in 2nd place. There's the number 1 car, BS Motorsport, ahead of King in second place, and it's side by side over the line for third that time. It looked like Richardson might try and get back ahead of George King, and he's done it around the outside. I think we have had the change there. We'll see them coming towards us, I think, in a moment. And yep, you could just see in the background, Oak Richardson, Josh had got back into third.
It looked like Jordan Johnson had sort of got past and got away, but that was very much a wrong presumption to make. You say Oak Richardson, a bold move, and side by side behind as well between Ben Hansey and Scott Leach. But let's go back to third because Jordan Johnson's fighting back. He's on the inside line. This is Palmer, and they are wheel to wheel, but Johnson will go back into third. They haven't been in the same position for more than a couple of corners over the last lap or so. Meanwhile, Ben Short, he's the leader. His lead is coming down a little bit. He got a little bit sideways on the last lap. He's 2.2 seconds ahead of George King. And it's going to be 5 in a row then, by the looks of things, for Ben Short. He goes into Oggies then, carries lots of speed out of the corner. Uses all the road up against the white line. Going into the right-hander there at Williams. There's George King behind. He's also racing in the European Ligier Series, which I think he meant he raced on the weekend of the 100th anniversary of the Le Mans 24 Hours in the early week support races. And I'm sure racing here at Snetterton is just as exciting for him.
It is, although it's being shown a clean pair of heels here by Ben Short in the number 1 car. They're into the final few corners now, these two. Well clear, about 7 seconds clear, in fact, of Jordan Johnson and Oak Richardson, who are still disputing third place. And interestingly, of course, Ben Hansey has not been able to take the fight to Johnson in this race, so it'll be Johnson that will take the championship lead, I think, after this race. But Ben Short now into Maurice for the final time. 2.25 seconds he led by at the start of the lap, and he comes out of the corner along the centre straight up to the checkered flag, and another win in the 5 Club Racing MX-5 Cup. So Short it is that takes the win from George King in second place. We're just going to keep an eye what's going on for third place. It looks like it is going to be Jordan Johnson, I think, that just about hangs on from Oak Richardson. So Johnson, number 92, is third. Oak Richardson, number 17, is in fourth, Josh.